Why do you always stop at the most beautiful times? And number 79 on the list, it's The Fall. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome to Long Play Video. Someone inexplicably has just come back with the film that we're doing today as we go through my top 100 favorite movies. At 79, amazing. It is The Fall, and I don't even need to pass you the DVD. You've just seen it in the returns bin, and had "Wowza" as your initial reaction. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting DVD, isn't it? Oh, yeah, just straight out the bat, bang, there you go. Yeah, wow. So yeah, no, I haven't seen this, and the DVD cover looks incredible. But I mean, two things that come out to me straight away is David Fincher and Spike Jonze. So yeah. That means it's gonna be interesting. I don't know how
it's them present to just
oh right,
just
so they
to make
don't
sure that that's clear.
What does that mean? They did the coloring of the DVD cover.
They just they think it's a good DVD. Maybe it was them that returned it to the shop.
Oh right, okay, yeah. So wow. So that's the thing. That's how you get people to watch your film. Like literally have some random person's name on it.
Yeah,
not affiliated with the film at all. So they're not actually affiliated. So David Fincher's not affiliated with this film at all.
No, they just presented it. You can see underneath The Fall, it says directed by Tarsem, which is Tarsem Singh, who's the director.
Well, how can you get away with just putting someone else's name, and they've put his name right in the middle of it, and it's not even, and he's got nothing to do with it? Well, I mean, the rest of it, I don't know how to describe it. It's the front cover is just, I mean, there's a guy that looks like in like a matador's outfit with like an old school pistol. It looks like woman's eyes, butterflies surrounded by them, and is that like the Taj Mahal in sort of silhouettes? It's one of the strangest DVD covers I've ever seen in my life. But apparently, according to someone who we don't know may be affiliated with the film or not, the quote is, I must see. So there we go. Maybe I do need to see this, and that's the difference.
Well, you miss off you miss off Magnificent on the front by Roger Ebert, who obviously comes up quite a lot.
Well, but did he say this now? Do we know? I mean,
David Poland, Movie City News. I'm not sure that's a ringing endorsement, is it?
I mean, it's up there with what was it, the Chicago Tribune.
Apologies to David if he's gone on and had a good career, and
yeah. I mean, he's obviously reviewed this. Right, first thing to look at, how long is it? It's 117 minutes. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know. Should I read the back? Is it any of this going to be true? I mean, it's even got David Fincher in the blurb. What's going on?
Trying to get some legitimacy. Yeah, you'll be unsurprised to hear it did not do well at the cinema.
No. This guy on the front, he looks like a poor man's Channing Tatum. That's what I'm seeing at the moment.
It's the dude who then becomes the baddie in Guardians of the Galaxy. He goes on, he's Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, okay. Filmed over a period of 4 years in 18 countries. Is that part of the actual, is that part of the actual film, or is this just telling us about the film?
This is about the film.
Okay. The Fall is an unforgettable movie experience. Oh dear, that never bodes well.
I mean, unforgettable can go either way, can't it?
Yeah, but judging by the front of this cover with David Fincher presenting it, David Fincher, I just still don't get that. Anyway, in 1920s Los Angeles. Wow, none of this on this DVD cover says to me 1920s. I mean, it looks almost like, I don't know, fantasy, like it's almost like a made up land, or it looks like, I don't know, maybe Roman or like barbarian, and then equally more modern. I don't know. Nothing says to me 1920s at all. Because there's so much color as well, and I don't know. Wouldn't associate the 20s with a lot of color.
Yeah.
In 1920s LA, Alexandria, a 5-year-old girl hospitalized from a fall. There we go. Clicked into the name. Strikes up an unlikely friendship with Roy, a Hollywood stuntman shattered by a near fatal movie set accident and his lover's betrayal. Wow, amazing. So just to go over that again, he's a Hollywood stuntman, shattered, nice, got that in there. By a near fatal movie set accident. Okay, seems plausible. And his lover's betrayal.
I can't tell you the amount of times when describing a breakup, I've used the term "lover's betrayal" to just friends. I just casually.
Yeah, exactly. And like, oh, why are you in the hospital? I've got this little thing that I need to get fixed. Oh, and my lover's betrayal. That's why you're in the hospital. Oh my God. To pass the time, he tells Alexandria the epic story of Governor, is that Odious?
Odious, yeah.
And the 5 remarkable heroes determined to defeat him. Oh, what is going on? So just to be clear, so this girl's in hospital in the 1920s. Some random dude walks in who's from a completely different era, and apparently he's there because he's a stuntman, but really he's there because his lover has betrayed him.
he's from the 20s as well. He's the stuntman's from the 20s as well.
Okay. Okay. So I see. Right. So all of the pieces on the DVD cover, I'm guessing, relate to this story, this fanciful story that he's gonna tell.
There we go.
Right. Well, that's highly confusing. Good. Wow. So he tells a story. Governor Odious and the 5 remarkable heroes determined to defeat him. A dazzling world of magic and myth. Only when the line between reality and fantasy begins to dissolve does Alexandria realize how much is truly at stake. Presented by David Fincher. Wow. I mean, I don't know what to expect about this. I really don't know what to expect. Can you tell me why it's on your list? Because I don't know where to go with this. It looks so confusing.
Yeah. So there's just films that like I sort of in all of my reading and like going through movie coming soons and stuff like that, I just sort of pick up on very sort of small or indie films that aren't part of it and go and see them. And sometimes they're absolutely rubbish and sometimes they're really, really good. Yeah. This film is stunning. This film is, watch it on the biggest screen you've got.
Visually.
Visually, it's just like nothing you will have ever seen before. I can like guarantee it. There's pretty much no CGI. I mean, they said that there's 0 CGI on it. All of the sort of sets aren't even sets. They're filmed in real locations. So Tarsem Singh is a director. He's done a lot of advertising and music videos. He won awards for his music videos. Did "Losing My Religion," the REM one, which is quite famous. Quite a famous video, and actually does have it has a passing resemblance to this film. And the rumor is that he would basically only take jobs where he could, like, where they were in locations that he needed for this film, because he basically paid for this film. So then he would do the job and then fly everyone over there and basically film the scenes for this film, which is why it took 4 years and why it was sort of all over the place. So they say that he spent 30 million, but it was self-funded. So that's just a made up number because they don't know how much he spent because he basically funded it.
I was going to ask you that, because if there's no CGI, that kind of leads me to, if it was a David Fincher film and it said no CGI, I'd feel like, he's done that deliberately and this is going to be a good film. When someone else says there's no CGI, it makes me feel like there was no budget.
I think it was completely on purpose. And because of that, the colors are really vivid. The scenes and setting are amazing. And the fact is that like pretty much everywhere that's filmed is a real place and is actually, even though it does sort of wander into fantasy, but they're all real places that you could go and see in real life. And I think that's really sort of, important just to kind of know that going in. It made 3.7 million at the box office.
Off that 30 million, that's
yeah. And obviously this is 3.7 million in like 2000. I think it came out officially in 2008. So yeah, that's not great.
I'll tell you what, so just having a quick look on IMDb, just pulling that up on my Betamax computer. Wow, this is about a fourth or fifth down the list. Which you go to IMDb and you type in the full.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So like you said, 2006, 2008. Yeah, that's what I was just looking up to see what year. 2006. Okay,
I think it was completed in 2006, but it didn't come out in the UK until much later. So I heard about this. Funnily enough, I couldn't find the exact email, but me and my wife went to see it at the BFI at a screening because I'd heard a lot about it with David Fincher. No, no, we just went to see it because we'd heard so much about it, and like, the trailer just looked really weird but really good. And then I've bought this at least 5 times on Blu-ray. Like this is the movie that anytime anyone got a Blu-ray DVD player, I bought this for them because
as a punishment.
No, just to try out the DVD, the Blu-ray to like see how much better it is. And I was sort of thinking about that today, in actual fact, and did a quick search, and he is trying to get it released on 4K as well because it's apparently disappeared a little bit. So he's now trying to sort of get it released actually on 4K. So I would say this is you might it's lucky we're at the shop because I think you might struggle to find this in too many places. So
oh my Lord, that's crazy. So I presume then he's obviously a busy director in that he's trying to get a really old film set up in 4K on Netflix.
He kind of he went back. So he started with The Cell. You ever seen that? The one where they go in like the serial killer's brain.
Yes, I think so.
I'm just which did okay.
Yeah.
Which one?
Oh, wow.
What are you going to say?
I was just trying to think. No, The Cell. I was thinking with Jennifer Lopez. That's a completely different movie.
No.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And
one for the memory. Bang. Yes.
Yeah. And Vince Vaughn. Like it was a big movie. And then after this, he did Immortals, which was kind of the same. And then he did Mirror Mirror, which didn't do very well at all. And sort of since then he's not done that much.
No.
But
he's trying to get this out on 4K, isn't he? He's a busy guy.
He's trying to focus on this. So I think he just went back to sort of the advertising. Maybe he needed to recoup all of the all of the money that spent on the film. But
so all right, so I was a little bit taken aback with this one. So I was a little bit all over the place at the start. But all right, so let's go through this again. So it's on your list. It was presented to you by David Fincher, as we know, and he's just visually stunning. And is it just like what? I mean, I really don't know what to expect from this because it says it's in the 20s and nothing on this DVD cover says it's going to be set in the 20s.
Yeah. So
it's just
sort of
the visualization.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a story within a story.
Yeah.
This is probably one of the few on the list that isn't about the writing and isn't about the script. Obviously, we're only we're down to number 79, but I think it's fairly obvious to people that scripts and dialogue especially are kind of what I look for in films. There is some good lines and there is like good interplay between the lead characters. But again, and once we've watched it, I'm sure we'll get into it. Like there's a few bits where you're just like, what? But honestly, visually, and like the transitions between scenes and everything like that. It is just stunning. It is just if you're into kind of, the sort of movies as arts, like pictures and art and that type of thing. There are so many scenes from this that I think, I don't know, but I would imagine that people kind of learn, especially with the transitions where, it goes from one thing into another. Because like, the colors are so bold, and so it transitions from like a face into a rock formation and like stuff like that. So it is something to really, I mean, we really liked it at the cinema, and then got it on DVD, got it on Blu-ray, and have got it for everyone ever since, because it is just stunning.
So how many times have you seen this then? I mean, it came out in 2006, but let's say around that time. So how many times have you seen it since then?
Yeah, probably like 7, 8 times. I own it on Blu-ray. I don't think I haven't watched it very recently, funnily enough. But easily sort of 7 or 8 times. It was funny because when I was doing my search for it, my brother was trying to find it to buy for somebody. And
you've bought all the copies and sent them to people, so there are none left.
Well, he had emailed me and he said, what's that serial movie with the little girl in the mental hospital with the guy who tries to kill himself? It's good for Blu-ray. And I was like, The Fall? And he's like, that's it, The Fall.
I mean, if he'd have just said, what's that film that David Fincher presents? I mean, you'd been all over it.
What's David Fincher's favorite film? So, it's, I think, wow. It's just, it just is really, really good. And so, the storyline will have plenty to unpack, I'm sure. And I wouldn't get hung up in that. But honestly, the visuals are absolutely stunning.
I can't believe David Fincher is all over this DVD cover, and he has got nothing to do with it. I mean, that 30 million that he spent on the budget, I imagine 28 million went to David Fincher to get you to use his name on the back.
I mean, especially as we've just demonstrated, you remember The Cell. The Cell actually did quite well. So I'm surprised that they didn't use from the director of The Cell.
The Cell,
because that only come out, I think, a couple of years earlier. And again, it's very like, they're inside the mind of the serial killer, aren't they? So again, it's sort of there's very much like the story inside the story, or the setting inside the setting. So.
And it's also strange to open up the back of the DVD. It's almost like, oh, I'm exhausted. Guys, let me tell you what I've done. Whoa, I've filmed over a period of 4 years in 18 different countries. Well, that's got nothing to do with the film. Like, who cares? That's a weird thing to put that in as almost like a brag. Oh, just so you know, this is what happened.
Is it a brag, or is it like... come on, guys! I've put a lot of effort into this. Can someone buy the DVD, because no one went to the cinema?
That's kind of what it reeks of. It's concerning to me, and it's 117 minutes, which also concerns me.
I mean, how do you sell a film on a DVD that no one's got to the cinema to see? It's a tricky sell.
You buy David Fincher, Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, you're talking about this being such a visual film. It's so hard to describe this DVD cover. I can't wait for people to see it and understand the craziness that's going on in this DVD cover.
But that's why I think you'll like it, because you actually, you got kind of the Taj Mahal. I don't think it's the Taj Mahal, but it is like a palace in the same style. And like, that makes up obviously the nose, and then like, so that's the thing, like that sort of gives you an indication of that kind of like the shift between things, and like it's visually striking.
It's going to be interesting as to why he said it in the 1920s, because if it's a 2006 film of a stuntman, it could easily be set in any era, really. If you're going to go back and tell a fantasized story, it could really be set anytime. So it's going to be interesting to see why it's set in the 20s, or if there is any reason why it was set in the 20s.
It's a very good.
So
It's a very good.
yeah.
It's a very good question. I would say, but just because it doesn't give anything away, but like just
Yeah.
to sort of say that the type of film that it is. Just to mention, Roger Ebert, he gave it 4 stars. He does
Okay.
say it's very good.
Are you trying to sell this into me now?
Well, but like his review is brilliant for it, because he says that The Fall is so audacious that when Variety calls it a vanity project, you can only admire the man vain enough to make it, which I
Yeah,
think
okay.
is one of the that's a line.
Yeah. God,
But
I mean, yeah. I don't
yeah,
know. I'm confused and baffled. I don't know. And I presume there's no actual famous people in this then.
no,
Is it American or is it subtitles?
no, it's in English. Yeah, it's in English.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, wow. So I presume I'm not going to recognize anyone
No,
in the
no,
cast.
no,
No.
and yeah,
God.
that's not kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just that
Wow.
he kicks off his review. There's still watchery,
Yeah.
but Tarsem's The Fall is a mad folly, an extravagant visual orgy, a free fall from reality into uncharted realms. Surely it
Wow.
is one of the wildest indulgences a director's ever granted himself.
Wow. I think, I mean, the way that you were describing it is making me feel sort of like labyrinth-esque, and that sort of style. And having just gone through the never-ending story as well, I feel like, I mean, are we just getting the theme come through now? Is this going to be in the same sort of sense? So,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
if your bar is the never ending story from
Yeah.
from a couple of weeks ago, you're going to be blown away when
Oh,
you
right.
start watching this. I
Wow.
think as we mentioned, some things don't stand the test of time, and obviously
Yeah.
Flying Dog is one of them. But
Yeah.
this is something
Yeah.
else. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of I mean, similar. There's sort of but there's sort of there's like the story within the story, right? So it's not
Yeah.
as simple as
Yeah.
sort of never ending story or well, I mean, never ending story obviously is the archetype of a story within a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this but this is just it's just different and yeah,
Different
I mean,
level.
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's
Wow.
I mean, again, Ebert says like he had to check, 2 or 3 times to say whether the claims about no computer generated imagery,
Yeah.
was true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Well, it sounds intriguing. And if David Poland is all over this from the the big movie city news, then who am I to say that I
Who
shouldn't
are
be watching
you?
this? Yeah, exactly. Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
it's gonna
just
be
crack on.
interesting. Yeah, let's go for it.
And we'll
Wow.
this is going to be, I think, one of the most interesting one-word reactions to the other side that we've ever had. So
Yeah,
let's
I'm not sure.
get
Yeah,
the eyes wide. We'll put it on. We'll go like Be Kind Rewind. We're actually going to project this on the side of the shop,
oh yeah,
just so
nice.
it's in as big as it can be, and as
Yeah,
bold as it can be, and we'll go from there, and we'll see on the other
yeah.
side.
We'll tell everyone that's passing by this is the new David Fincher film. Come on out, come and watch it.
They'd believe it. That's why David Fincher's presenting it. So
Yeah,
okay, let's
nice.
go. Okay, as Kevin goes put the video on, what do I think that he will think of The Fall? I think he's going to think it's pretty crazy. I think on the first watch, can be quite overwhelming. So I think he's going to be like interesting, but maybe a bit crazy. And then we'll see what he thinks of it from there. So let's put it on and we'll go for it.
Bombshell. And
Okay.
yeah. So I say that because it's a pod exclusive. Today I'm going to provide 2 reviews, but for the same film.
Have you've seen it in the past? You're saying you couldn't remember it, or you watched it twice this week because you...
more so that when I was sort of watching it, I didn't really understand. I must have missed a few clues at the start as to how it all sort of links in. And therefore, I kind of was watching a slightly different film until I realized. And then I was like, this is the actual film. So there's a point where, so I guess, yeah, there's going to be spoilers. So everyone get yourself ready. Yeah, because Roy's always the one talking.
Yeah.
I must have just missed obviously they put in a few subtle clues at the start. And I must have just, I must have just been doing something as well and just missed them. And so obviously the story's told from him. And I think this is where I just couldn't, I missed it. Is that he was obviously telling the story and then it goes into the story and you see the story. But the story is obviously through her eyes. So the reason that it's so random and colorful and weird is because it's through the eyes of a child. Yeah. Well, I didn't get that for a while. So, so I was just like, this is a very weird film. What is going on? I mean, it's still an extremely weird film. Yeah. So, which we could obviously discuss. But yeah. So that's where I'm at. So yeah, how did you find the rewatch?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it a lot, but again, as I think I've said before, like watching it critically makes a huge difference. So I was actually, I was actually kind of paying attention to more things, and I was sort of much more conscious of how does this lead to that, and then I sort of went down the sort of the hole into Wonderland to sort of find out what actually it all meant, and I ended up actually watching pretty much most of it with the director's commentary on, which was super interesting. And I'd never done that before. So lots to talk about. I think maybe we have to be quite clear at the beginning for when it's the story within the story. Should we just call it the bandit story? Yeah, and then we'll call the story that's not in the bandit story the rest of it. But otherwise, it might get a bit too confusing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it definitely is confusing. If you miss that key element as well, that it makes the whole film just like almost pointless. You're just like, what the hell?
I mean, you have to watch a film when you're watching a film. Generally, you have to watch the film. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but I mean, missing out on that. I think even not missing out on that piece, like it's such a strange film. It is very, very weird, and I get obviously trying to do something, different. I think for me, what I was sort of summarizing it feels more like a piece of art. And then I was like, okay. And I was like, is it? And then it brings the question, is art in this format entertainment? And I think that was the question. I was like, so, okay, it's, he's putting something together that's very clever. He's trying to get into the inside of a child's mind and show you that on screen, which is incredible that he's done something like that. But then ultimately, is that entertaining? That's the question. Would you pay money to go and see that? I mean, would I go pay money to go and see this at the cinema knowing that? Probably not. Well, definitely not.
If it's said your local cinema had this on, you wouldn't go and see it, like on the big screen. No. That's interesting. I definitely would. I'd be like, are you kidding me?
It's on your top 100 films. I should hope so.
But just like wrong on the big screen. The
colors
visuals and stuff would just be amazing. Yeah.
But again, then it comes down to it's a piece of art, right? Like if it was on at a museum and I was going to the museum, I might go, or if like the museum had a cinema, and I'd go, oh yeah, okay, maybe I can see it. But if I'm going to the cinema, like I'm not, I want to, like we said before, it's escapism, it's storytelling, and it is.
I would say, but like rather than entertainment, like it provokes an emotional reaction, because obviously we've done films that it's not really entertainment in the way, like it's not like we've done sad films.
It's not Free Jack. Yeah.
I mean, what's he gonna do?
I mean, if Mick Jagger was in this, it probably would have been better.
Maybe it could have been an all-star cast. Maybe the five people should have been Mick Jagger, Sylvester Stallone, Pele.
Oh wow! Can you imagine? I don't know. Maybe it's just trying to do too many things then. Maybe trying to be too clever. I think it's because obviously you've got the main story, the stuntman story, and then you've got obviously the bandit story as well. The stuntman story obviously is telling like some interesting pieces of life, important questions of, if you think you're going to lose your legs, should, people thinking about taking their lives, back in those days, were hospitals just like rogue things where people just run around doing whatever they want, giving people sugar pills or whatever. So yeah, I mean, there was he delves lightly into that, but you never. I feel like you don't go too deep in that, other than near the end where Roy really sort of loses it and they have to strap him down.
Yeah.
And then the bandit stories, obviously, that's just. I mean, it's not really a story at all, right? It's just he's making it all up as he goes on because he just wants the drugs, so it doesn't make any real sense. It's seen through her eyes, so it's through a child's eyes. So it's basically just great color and just stuff moving around. And so again, it doesn't really make sense. So like the bandit story, just in terms of like for art, it's artistically, I think, impressive. But for a film, you're like, well, the majority of this film's like just randomness, but in like really good like 4K.
I mean, with both stories, there is, and so this is definitely what the director was going for. Both are actually told from Alexandria's point of view. So actually, like she changes the story that Roy is telling her fairly early on, and like when he goes to shoot the woman, and then the pendant saves her, and then
that's in the bandit story, though, right?
Yeah. But so then he's reading everything in that, and then he's like does it say all that in the because that's actually her adding to the story, and she's actually telling those bits. And then even the sort of Roy's story, it's still seen from her vantage, right? You never see Roy on his own, so it's obviously you're getting like what his emotional situation and like his hopelessness, but it's all still through her eyes. It's all still through. And like even down to the dialogue, where apparently a lot of her dialogue just wasn't written, and she was just making it up.
Really?
And even like the director was asking her like what should happen in the story, and she was actually making up the story. So
oh wow,
the first
that explains a lot. I mean, if there's a 5-year-old director, now we know where we're at.
But that's it. He says at the very beginning, obviously it says Los Angeles a long, long time ago. And he said, I should have, he says at the beginning of the commentary, he said, I should have put Once Upon a Time, because obviously all the stories, both stories are from the child's point of view. And he said, I thought I made that obvious, but clearly not. And this is obviously on the DVD after it's made 3.9 million at the box office and being panned by everyone. So he's like, I thought it was fairly obvious, but clearly no one got that, and that's why it's not made any money. And now I'm going to have to go and make another movie.
Well, I did. I mean, we come on to this, but I did see he's actually done a few other like more modern things that I was like, oh, actually, I do know those. So at least he's gone on and he's been okay. But like I don't think. Like for me, I mean, I know I might have missed a little bit, but I don't think it was like, not that it has to be super obvious, slapped in your face, but I don't think he made it that clear, as clear as maybe he thinks he did, in that, this is being portrayed from her eyes. Because that's the thing, Roy's always telling the story. And so, naturally, you're just presuming he's just, this is just the vision of Roy's story. You're not thinking, oh, hold on, no, it's her vision of Roy's story, which obviously changes it quite substantially. So
and even I mean, it's the sort of the ending bit, and like what actually happens to him and stuff. I would say like there's not like,
that's weird.
It's
like some kind of miracle, right? Like he's a stuntman again. I'm like, is he, or is he not, or is he just pretending he is? Exactly.
That's kind of the ambiguity of the ending, which we'll get into for things we maybe don't like quite so much. But I think I mean, most films don't have a sort of a one thing that unlocks them, but I do think with this one, if there were to be one, it's this is my story, no, it's mine too. And it's like especially for for people who maybe are thinking of suicide and stuff. Like it's like, well, you know, it's my life. I can do whatever you want. And what she's saying is, well, no, because you're now part of my life. And so if you die and I love you, then that means I've had someone I love. I've had another person I've loved die, because obviously she's like, she's already like, no, it can't be my father. My father's dead. The angry people got him. And it's just like, wait, what? What the hell?
And then that was also like an extra storyline didn't need to be there. That was very confusing.
But I think because, and that's the thing. I think it all fits together, but you almost need to hear how it all fits together. And I think should you need that in a film, I think is a very valid question, right? I like the fact that it doesn't spoon feed the answers, but at the same time, you need to be able to get to the answers fairly easily. So
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, I think you're right. I mean, if anyone is listening to this who hasn't watched it and then is going to go and watch it, this is perfect, because I think I'd have enjoyed it more. Not that I didn't necessarily enjoy it, but I think I'd enjoyed it more if I understood from the start that it's definitely being portrayed from her eyes. I think that would have been, it's more enjoyable. And I can't now go back and rewatch it the first time from those eyes. So I was like, oh, that's kind of, the big reveal, the bit where the 40 million went, has kind of been lost. And so you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But the visuals are so rich. Honestly, you can watch it 4 or 5, if not 100 times, and you're still going to see so much is going on on pretty much every shot.
I don't know if I could spend 2 hours doing this again. I'd maybe just have it on in the background, like a bit of art on the wall, where maybe no sound and it can just be playing in the background of a party. It's random, and a lot of it is really in the bandit story. So when they're trying, obviously they're portraying that Roy is trying to get the morphine and he's trying to get the drugs to commit suicide. Those scenes aren't actually that long. You don't actually spend that much time in that story. And so you don't really feel the real affiliation with him and like the pain. And, it feels more like most of the time is more in the bandit story. And we now know that was just completely made up for him to have drugs. So it was kind of like there's absolutely nothing to it at all, other than obviously the girlfriend. But
it was like 5 or 6, I think maybe 5, and basically they were filming her sort of it's all real basically. So they were filming like through the sheet, and like all of the lighting was actually, those weren't stages. It was in a hospital. They told her and they told everyone that Roy actually was paralyzed, that he couldn't walk, because he didn't, he wanted sort of a real thing. The first time that she sees him and she won't go near him, that was the first time that she'd ever seen him. The second time when she's sort of getting closer and closer, that's all real. And so it's a bit of a funny one where you're like,
well, that's great.
Yeah.
But that's great for you as a director, going, wow, isn't this amazing? But how have you portrayed any of that to anyone else in the film?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's even down to, I mean, he says, that the last scenes were really tough because Roy was like pouring it on and was like scene after scene was doing well. And then she was like laughing and giggling and apparently just wasn't sort of in it at all. So much so that they then kind of overdubbed her talking when she came back, apparently like a year later, and was actually then an actress. So then she could do like the parts and do the dialogue way better than she would have been able to. But again, like you're kind of, without giving all of that away, or without kind of, I don't know. I completely agree that in the first 5-10 minutes you need, or almost if you don't have the very beginning, which he really likes, but if you don't have Roy sort of, and the slow-mo and the horse and like trying to explain everything, and obviously you see all of the characters then who are then in it kind of later. If you don't have that, it actually becomes more clear that it's from her point of view. Almost if you have her falling out of the orange tree at the beginning, then it becomes more clear that it's about her. I think it actually, because they have that bit, it actually seems to be more about Roy than actually it is. It's her story, and he's a part of her story, but it confuses it by having that first opening scene, which he's very proud of. But
well, I mean, I think I think you could have had that scene a bit later on. Like, you kind of try to set it up bit too fancy, bit too early. And so, like, you might have seen some of the other characters, but we've not seen the characters yet, so you're not really paying attention. They're just bystanders. They're just extras in that scene. When he's trying to jump onto the horse. And so at that point, you're kind of like, well, I'm not paying any attention to any of these people, so I've not made the connection that these are all people that are now in the story. And so, it's, and then also, I mean, I guess it should only be, if it's seen through her eyes, it should only be people that she's seen. So then she wasn't there when that happened. So that wouldn't make sense. So I think
but which again, like, afterwards, it does make sense, because that's why he uses, when he says Indian, obviously he means Native American, but she means Indian because she's seen it. She does see the guy who's lost his leg, who comes in when she says, "Is your friend a pirate?" Which I'm just like, I've never been able to say that to someone. That's a shame. Isn't it? I'd love to be able to say that to someone. So
I think you can only get away with that when you're 5. I'm not sure. You can go to someone who's only got one leg and they're a pirate.
I mean, it was the 20s, so it's fine. But she does see him, and all of the characters in the other film, like are and knowing that the nurse or the woman has then gone with the bad guy. That only comes in right at the end, because actually Roy doesn't know that she's with, but she does, because she sees them outside in the car. So, like, again, it does all piece together, but I think it could have been, it could have been spoon-fed just a touch more, to be like, this is, I mean, kind of the problem with any unreliable narrator, right? Whenever the main narrator of any story is unreliable, you kind of have to put something in quite early that says, don't believe everything that the narrative is telling you, because the narrative is from this point of view that might not be true. And you kind of need that early, and you don't quite kind of get that.
I think absolutely. And I guess for him, if he's trying to show this movie, like you said, almost from the inside of a child's mind, and he's deliberately gone to so much effort, like you're saying, of letting her just run riot and just go say whatever you want, whatever you feel, give me ideas of what you think the world would look like, the bandit world. That's great. But like, it's like you said, like, none of that really, like, that's great that he's got that in his mind. And so through his mind, he's now seeing that. But he should have got other people to be looking at the film during it while it was getting played, surely, and saying, "So what do you think? Tell me, how's the story going?" Because other people would have been like, "Well, hold a minute, I don't get this bit, that bit, that bit." And I mean, even like, I'm looking at the DVD cover again, and she's not really, she's not on it at all. And if the majority of this story is supposed to be her and her story, she's not there at all. It's as if she doesn't exist in this film.
So, she's on the back, but
is she on the back? Where is she?
He's leading her by the hand.
Oh yeah. She's that little small one,
but I agree with the point, though. Like, almost you want it to be her eyes would actually be a better indication. Although is that her eyes?
No, I don't. I did wonder, is that might be her eyes? But even so, that's still way too subtle if you don't know anything about this film.
And she's only the little bandit for 10 minutes at the end, right? So
exactly, and that is, again, a bit weird. But so, like, it is a strange film. I don't think I will watch it again from a entertainment point of view. You could have it on, I think, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how, like, what did you get more watching it through this time?
Yeah.
I mean, was it because David Fincher presented it and you were like, oh, okay. Yeah.
One of the tidbits in the director's thing as well is that one of the doctors is Dr. Snyder, because he's friends with Zach. And apparently in one of his films, there's a Dr. Singh. So he did that back as a little nod. But
Oh, great. Look at these guys having their own jokes. Yeah, brilliant.
I mean, this is
why did we get that one either? Yeah.
This is the problem though, when you have someone who it's all their vision, and it's like such a passion project that you always you do think, no, you know what, you need to then give it to someone who's a dispassionate editor, who's just going to edit it. And to be fair, I think he even kind of acknowledges the fact that that's not the bit that he's good at. Like and that's why he does so many commercials and music videos. He says is that he loves being on the set and putting them together. He doesn't like the editing. He doesn't like the overdubbing. He doesn't like all of that other stuff. He's about the sort of being on set and coming up with the shots and the art, basically. So no, it's interesting. But it is just stunning. I wrote down what a montage, and I have no idea which one it refers to, because there was just so many.
Yeah, the one when they're walking through like a billion different cities, and you're just like, what the hell's going on? And also equally, if it was from her eyes, would she know all these places? Probably not in the 1920s. So that's a bit of a fall down for him. But I was like, well, this is where the 40 million got spent for sure. It's just for 2 seconds of them walking by. I mean, there's a bit where they're by the Eiffel Tower. I was like,
the Colosseum in Rome and stuff as well. But again, unfortunately, he said, where do you think they would travel to, apparently? And she was like, well, they'd definitely go to the Eiffel Tower, and they'd definitely go to Rome. And they're like, so actually, I
think maybe he should have just taken his own cues rather than the 5-year-old director at that point. I mean, that's just random. I mean, obviously it can be bizarre, it can be strange, but it's just, you're then just like, I mean, it totally doesn't fit at all, right? Like the whole story is this, like you said, this once upon a time sort of fantasy. And then you're like, oh yeah, they come out of the desert and they just go over to Rome, make a little stop over there. None of them are tired. They've got loads of food, even though there's no water, apparently. Then they nip over to the Eiffel Tower, get some snaps there. I mean, it's just ridiculous. That part is bad.
There's a Statue of Liberty as well, which was the one from France. But I think that's the landmarks, especially. I think everything else you can get away with, right? There could be pyramids, because it's supposed to be a fantasy world. So you could do
the pyramids,
the stuff
with the
But as soon as you have something that's like an actual city, you're like, well, why would they be like on horses going? For sure.
So was there, I guess the more that you noticed on the rewatch then was more around because you had the director's cut and you were listening to his dulcet tones and exactly his epic vision. Did anything change for you then after listening to it? Did you think, oh, okay, is there anything that you missed or anything that you enjoyed more? Or
I think,
you just think, does he just keep going through it and you go, yeah, I wish I'd have done this, so this would be more obvious, and I wish I'd have done this.
It's fascinating, like looking into it all. I mean, I watched it. I did watch it, and then I watched most of it with the. I didn't go through the entire film. I think I kind of what occurred to me this time way more was in other films like this, like Neverending Story and also Princess Bride. The other story is the main story. Like the sort of the fantasy story is the main story. Whereas actually in this, the fantasy story, as you say, is actually just kind of a throwaway thing. It's not supposed to make sense. It's got nothing to do with it. And actually, the real story is actually the real story. And you think like, obviously, Columbo reading to his grandson, or sort of Bastian reading to himself. There's nothing in the reality in those. Whereas with this, what he's attempting to do, and I don't know how well it is actually executed, but way more. I was thinking, actually, there's so much more to the non-fantasy part of this than you would normally get in a movie like this, and that is, it's an impressive shout, or it's an impressive attempt, even if it doesn't wholly work. So
I think you're right. Actually, now you've said that, I think that would make a lot more sense if they actually spent more time on the main story. You'd really connect with the characters more, you'd connect with Roy more, because even though, obviously, he obviously has that tragic accident, and then obviously we don't know the end if he suddenly has a miraculous recovery, but
Yeah.
he's in that hospital. He's debating about, taking his own life because, obviously that's his career over as well. You're right. I think there's a lot to be done through that, and you could be seeing what does hospital look like through the eyes of a 5-year-old, in the 1920s. I think there's so much. You're right. You could really have doubled down on that, and you would have just done little interludes of the bandit story, and then that would have been fine because you wouldn't have felt cheated, because you wouldn't have felt like, oh, this entire thing was completely pointless. It was just to check that color still works on the camera. It's like, so I think you're right. If you'd have actually, the main story would have been the actual story, I think that would have actually been a much better film.
Yeah. Well, and I think I kind of, I got more that the 5 people were like different parts of Roy's psyche, and like I guess the sort of the isolation that Roy had kind of, sprung out to me a lot more. The fact that he was, sort of the loneliness he was feeling, which is kind of the explosive expert when he says, okay, no one's allowed to talk to him and no one's allowed to, that's, I think it feels like that's kind of what he then thought was like, okay, I'm going to be like, no one's going to hire me. No one's going to, I'm not going to ever get another job. And then sort of she slowly sort of brings him just back into the world, because again, you don't really you see Roy talk to the doctor like twice, and then he has the guy whose pills he steals, Walt. He like has the little angry interaction with him, but you don't see him speaking really like with anyone else. Even the people that come to speak to him, he doesn't kind of speak back and stuff. And so that I felt that more, that it was kind of about his isolation and stuff like that, which I think kind of was a bit more impactful this time around.
I think you're right. I think if they'd have doubled down on that part of the story, it definitely would have been better, and probably would have saved him about 20 million. So, was there anything that you think that dates the film? I mean, I guess obviously it is set in a specific time and then in a fantasy world.
Yeah, no, I mean the visuals are still just stunning. I pulled it up on the big screen, got the projector out for it, and it's I mean, I do think, with the much maligned Tree of Life, which it feels like I have a pop at pretty much every 3rd week. Like,
I feel like you should get a T-shirt that would say that. It's like, I do hate the Tree of Life, really, and on the back it's about dinosaurs.
I hate the dinosaur movie Tree of Life. No, but like, the graphics in this and the scenes are just they are just so stunning. I don't think I know anything that comes close, and those definitely hold up. Which, I mean, obviously he kind of made a lot of the fact that he didn't use computer graphics and stuff like that. Although, we'll come on to that in a second. I'm not sure that that's wholly true, but
no, it's definitely not. But
but like, I think those held up really well.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think the real differential between the sort of desert, and that was quite a clever thing of putting it into the desert in the fantasy world, because it's all sort of yellow, sort of dark, that sort of plain, sort of beigey color, and then he just brings in all the other color into it. And I think having that contrast really, really helps. It was clever setting it there, and even in the other areas when he moves around the cities, and you've got that city where a lot of the buildings are white, but then they all have like one blue wall, and you have this real sort of contrast. I think it was really clever in doing those sort of things. It really brings out, like you said, that vibrancy. But yeah, definitely. I mean, should we cover the CGI now? I mean,
where do you think there was CGI?
I think there's a tiny little bit when the guy gets hit by about 12 arrows, and then falls back onto the arrows.
I'm not sure whether it's CGI or actually
awful as well.
That is that. Funnily enough, I saw that and thought, okay, something's gone on there, because he just doesn't fall in the right way. I don't think. I mean, it's definitely not CGI. It's not. He's not CGI, because in 2006, there's no way.
Afterwards.
There's no way you would be able to do those. So I think it's I mean, I think it's more practical bad effects than it is.
Yeah, it looked terrible, because it kind of, you could see his legs are sort of move away from the floor, when his body hasn't fallen down, and you're like, gravity would be doing this differently. And so you're just like,
It's a
I mean, I know
it's a child's imagination, I guess.
would a child do that though? I mean, I can't, but I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not a child, but I mean, seriously, would the child be like, yeah? And then he falls on his back, and all the arrows slip through his entire body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that is
I don't
there
know.
is a part of it where, and I mean, it's the same with his brother getting hung, and like they're in almost as a
Yeah.
chandelier, which is a very
Yeah.
disturbing shot.
Yeah.
But
It's
that's almost part
crazy
of the
weird.
point, isn't it? That actually she's seen a lot, and she has that bit when she's drugged up where she's like reliving people coming to burn down their house because they're immigrants, and
Yeah.
basically sees her dad get murdered, right? So I think there is sort of a connection with actually she may be 5, but she's seen some pretty dark stuff, and that's why she can
Yeah.
have pretty dark imagination.
Yeah, well, there's definitely that bit of CGI, but well, we'll let him off with that bit. So, how would you describe it to the aliens then? I mean, this is going to be an absolute belter.
No, yeah, for me, I went simple. I said a child tells a story that covers the world.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And
Well,
it's
at
when-
least you've given them the heads up. It's for the kids, you. They will be going, they'll be like, well, we're keeping this guy alive because he's done us a solid. Because imagine if we'd have watched this film and we didn't know that. How annoyed would we all be?
Did
And
you
I'm
go
like, oh,
for-
yeah. They're like, oh, Jeff, you know, Jeff didn't know this bit. He didn't hear what Andy said. And he's fuming. He's just
doesn't
annihilated
understand it at all.
America. Yeah. I went for a prequel to A Clockwork Orange. It was a bit weird that the British guy is basically just from A Clockwork Orange, and then when you work out it's from her mind, you're like, okay, I don't think she would have seen Clockwork Orange.
Which British guy?
Well, the Darwin guy, the guy with the monkey. He's like, his entire outfit is straight from A Clockwork Orange. I did think, I mean, that's maybe something that I was going to lean more to in with the story for the aliens. It's almost like, is it 5 or 6 people basically go to a costume shop and then reenact Power Rangers on the road.
There's Power Rangers the back.
Yeah. His outfit was strange. The Darwin guy. That was a bit weird. They all seem to have very bizarre, questionable outfits. But so all right. So was there any questions that it asks, answers? Do you think it's philosophical in a way, or?
Well, I mean, there's sort of about telling stories and movies and stuff. I think for me, the question is, can you ever have too much style? Because obviously that is the criticism of the film, like that it's style over substance and stuff like that. So funnily enough, that was my complaint about Drive, which felt to me like it was all just style, and I just didn't like it at all.
Wow.
Whereas with this, I would say, almost there is more to it, and there is depth there. But and it's I get the criticism, but I think it's just so well done, and the fact that they are all on location, they're not on sets and stuff. It does, I don't know, it just does show you so many beautiful places around the world.
But then, do you need to have like a Brewster's Million-esque type, bit of narration at the top, a bit of dialogue that you could see on the screen,
scrolling down?
They says this cost 40 million. Everything was actually filmed live on, in location. This is from the girl's point of view. I mean, we're getting to a point where there's too many things you have to sort of know before you actually watch the film. So I could understand why people would be a bit disappointed, and like, I think that's a very good way to put it, is style over substance. For me, I was just thinking, is it well, there's a couple of things. Is placebo a real thing? I was like, that comes up pretty early in the main story. I was like, oh, that's interesting. He's been getting sugar pills.
I mean, back then, obviously, they were just there just wasn't any rules, were there? So
no, to be honest, you'd probably be happy with a sugar pill. You're like, oh, this is actually pretty nice.
In fact, funnily enough, it's scientifically taking a placebo does actually make you better. So
I was actually just listening to a podcast about that. I guess for me there is our entertainment, but and then the other thing I was thinking was that obviously the homage they sort of have at the end about all the old stunts and showing you the entry into sort of cinema and what people had to do, and Charlie Chaplin sort of era. And I was like, oh yeah, is he sort of alluding to that there should have been more appreciation for the stunt people, like because a lot of these
Yeah.
people would have been doing actual proper real life stunts
Oh, all
with
of it.
very
Yeah.
little protection
Yeah.
or anything. So yeah, that was one thing I thought. Is he trying to sort of get that across in the
Yeah. I
last 2
didn't.
minutes of the film?
Yeah. I didn't even know whether is it a comment on like practical
Yeah,
stunts and practical
yeah,
filmmaking rather than
mm,
computer and CGI and stuff. Completely agree that it's
yeah,
shoehorned in right at the end, and it's a bit jarring. You're a bit like what? Why?
yeah,
Like, yeah. Again, to
yeah,
sort of have a third narrative almost, right? You have
yeah,
the main one, you then have the story, and then you have this sort of weird bit at the end showing a bunch of
yeah,
clips from Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin movies, all though like good stunts, but again, you're just kind of like, yeah, what?
yeah,
Like, and she said that she had never been to see a moving picture, and now she's been to see like 30,
yeah,
and you just,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
After you break your arm, you realize, you realize what's important in life, and you've got to go and catch up on movies.
I mean, that's one of the interesting things. Another of the interesting things that came up was the fact that the point is that she's really bored because she's in a hospital and all the children are sick. She's not sick. She's
Yeah,
just waiting for her arm to
yeah, to
basically
heal.
heal. So that's why she's kind of so bored and why she's wandering around and doing stuff like
Yeah,
that. So
yeah, that's fair enough.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It was a little bit shoehorned in at the end, wasn't it? It was a bit
yeah,
strange, and I'm sure we'll come on to the ending soon.
yeah,
Or maybe
yeah.
we didn't really cover off anything you did like. Is that something you want to talk about now? The
Yeah,
ending?
I mean, I think it's what you would, yeah, what you would swap out, or like, yeah, how you would
Yeah.
change it. I think, yeah, I think that has to be there. Like, there almost has to be a moment at the end where I think if she says, "I want him to live" about the story, and then she says, "I want you to live,"
Mm,
then I think it all comes
yeah.
together, and it's all like, you know,
Yeah.
like eye to eye. I want you to live. I think that because yeah, it just doesn't. It just speeds up so much right at the end
Mm,
because everyone's dying in the story, and you're like, well,
yeah.
why is he
Yeah.
killing everyone? Because he's now like
Oh
not
yeah.
killing himself, and so it just pacing wise, it feels a bit off, and it's still a bit jarring.
Yeah, and I think actually from what you said at the start of this part is that you're right. I think if actually the main focus would have been on the stuntman story
Yeah,
and not on the bandit story, I think that would have been fine because then you're right as he's killing them all off, and then at the end it's all just it just that's the only unfortunate thing. Like visually it's amazing, but at the end, having watched it, you go, well, so that whole story was it's just basically gibberish. I
yeah,
mean, I appreciate, oh, this is nice. It's a nice thing. Oh, we've gone into the mind of a child, and this is what the mind of a child looks like. That is awesome, and that's great. But do I need to see 2 hours of that? I mean, probably not.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think that's the thing, as you said at the start. Actually, if they'd have focused more on the in the hospital, I think that would have been a much better story. And then at the end, when he's just killing them all off, and then obviously there's this what's his name, the main guy, Odious. Um, he's got people everywhere. He's got like these armies of armies of armies. He's like this. He can kill anyone. He's like this big person, and all of a sudden, it's just the main actor for the film, and
yeah. But that's a
he
story.
would yeah, which is fine. I'm fine with that. And then he just sort of dies by laying back on a sword, and you're like,
Yeah,
what? Hold on, it's supposed to be like almost immortal.
yeah.
So
But that's
I
the thing
think you're
because by that stage, Alexandria has
yeah,
lost
it's bored.
interest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, great, great
literally
for
that.
her. What about for us watching the film?
Yeah,
Get
no,
back into
absolutely.
it. Yeah,
And when he says, "Oh, I'm not feeling well," like when he's got the sword through him, which is a very cheesy line, but that's because
yeah,
he was going to be Walt, so that the guy that Roy has
yeah,
apparently right up until sort of a
Oh,
month
wow.
before they were shooting. The entire point was that they had a fractious relationship. So the bad guy was actually that guy in the
Yeah, that would have been
story.
terrible.
And then they switched it to be like the other movie star who's stolen his girl. But originally it wasn't that anyone had stolen his girl. It was just that his girl had left him. So
that would have been better, I think, as well.
Yeah.
A better story. And
Yeah.
then you could have just had and then you would have, like, to your point, like, well, if you can get David Fincher to help you out, can you redo this film? If you can focus on Roy, get a few more scenes with Roy and Walt, so that we see that fractious relationship, and then we'll go through there. This sounds like this could be a great winner now. This could be, if it came out now, if your film came out now, it'd be good.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, when all is said and done, it's emotionally unsatisfying. And I think that's sort of the biggest thing, that at the end you're just left with this feeling of like, it just didn't land like as well as you would. And so, funnily enough, another pod I was listening to on it was like, yeah, but you don't say, like, the upper top left of the Mona Lisa, the perspective is a little bit dodgy. And you're kind of like, I get that as a criticism.
Yeah, but
like,
it's not the upper left picture, is it? It's like the left side.
Yeah, that smile. What's that all about? It looks awful. Yeah. I mean, the ending of a film should be when everything comes together. So that is the bit that you have to nail. So I agree.
And I liked the fact that obviously they do the movie and then you do see all the characters again, and you're like, oh, okay, so it is the orderly, is the doctor and stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that was not, and you kind of presumed it would be.
Yeah.
And then maybe they could have thrown a few of those in earlier, so you really understood.
Yeah, they are all there, to be fair. You see them all. Yeah. You see them all early.
I think because you're so focused on those two, and that's the thing, the whole story.
Yeah.
I didn't really pay any attention, and obviously the hospital scenes are all very dark, so people are walking in the background. You're not really seeing them, and I think that was the thing for me. I didn't really, and that's where I think I missed a couple of the clues at the start, because I wasn't really watching the background.
Yeah, and not to harp on about, but like the reason why it's so dark is because they didn't light it, and because they were trying to make it as real as possible to get the performance from the actress that they got. So like he talks a lot about the one where the Eucharist scene.
Oh my God, that goes on for so long.
But like he talks about how the fact that Roy is basically reacting to the actress, because if she moves, he has to move to allow the light to come in from behind them, because that's where the light is that's lighting the scene. And if he doesn't do that, then basically you wouldn't be able to see her, and it would ruin the shot. So I mean,
that's great for him in his mind when he sits down at night and goes, that shot was great. The rest of the world has no idea that you've not got lights in here and doesn't care.
Yeah, but if you're filming a film from a child's point of view, and obviously there were plenty of horrifying stories about children on movie sets and how traumatized they get from it. Not even to mention Hitchcock and all of the grown people that he did that to. But I think it's it's a really good performance, but like at what cost?
The cost of the film, I'd say probably 40 million if I was going to round it up.
Well, who knows how much he spent? I mean, maybe he would have had a lot of miles. Maybe he flew people out to the location on Avios, or other airlines are available.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I don't know, because there's no famous people in it either, so I don't know where any of this money went. But you're right. I mean, how much?
4 years, 28 countries, is which they kind of harp on about in everything. It's all about that, which I think is. Again, I think it's a bit of disgenerous.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, The Amazing Race does even more than that. But they don't say that. They're not throwing it down your throat every episode.
Which character would you be then? It's good. So it's adventure, swashbuckling. Which one would you go for?
Yeah, one in the sort of real story, or the hospital story, and one in the bandit story. So in the real story, I went for Walt. I couldn't remember what his name was, but I'll put placebo guy. I was just imagining that being me going, at the end of it, because I've got such a sweet tooth, I'd be like, would I still be happy that I'm the 7 sugar pill? But I'd be like, well, it could be worse.
I've still got my sugar.
I've still got sugar. And then in the story, I mean, obviously you've got to be the monkey, is the wisest one of them all. So
well, another Easter egg. So because he's called Wallace, isn't he? So Darwin, and Wallace was sort of the botanical partner of Darwin, who many people say actually made all of the discoveries and stuff like that.
I presume there was going to be something very much like that. At least that one he did throw us down our throat, so it was pretty obvious.
Yeah.
What about you?
I'd be the Indian. I thought he was. I think he was the coolest. I liked his sword and his outfit. I thought it was pretty cool, and like the green was, just he looked cool. Didn't say anything. But, that was. I thought he was the cool character for me.
Didn't fancy being the creepy mystic with his just little speedo pants on. It was when that comes on, I was like, "Who is this guy? Why is he coming out of a tree? What's going on?"
Yeah. Well, I had to put on the subtitles for when he said that he's been sent by his mystic cult, because it sounded like something else, and I was like, "What?" But yeah, no, it's so even funny when the scene with the people who are giving the directions. So apparently that is in Bali, and they do that like for tourists and stuff. And apparently he was said that he was chatting to the main guy there, and actually he is giving instructions in whatever the local language is, which is basically like go to pyramids and turn right. And actually, if you translate all of that, it would be completely legit. And then apparently this guy told him that actually, like, there's no history to that sort of dancing and rhythmic stuff. That in the 1920s, a German tourist went to Bali and was like, look, to get tourists, you have to do something that is like considered like native. So you just come up with something and then everyone will come and see it. And so then apparently they came up with like doing that, like chanting and dancing. I have no idea if that's true or not, but it was quite a funny story that like, this is authentic. You're like, no, they just made it up to get tourists.
Wow. that would be great if actually we find out all of these things, every country we've ever been to, none of this stuff is real. It's all been made up.
First fish and chips was actually brought over by a French person.
Yeah, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. What about lines? Do you have any good favorite lines?
I think when she says, "Oh, I don't have a house," and he says, "Why?" and they said they burned it down, and he says, "Who?" and she says, "The angry people." I think that hits. And then when everyone's dying, she says, "You're making this up," and he says, "No, I'm not," which I think is a wonderful meta, like. Meta upon meta upon meta, like
I am
comment.
I am.
You're making it up. No, I'm not. No, you are, because that's the story. But I thought those were good. But obviously, there's not that much dialogue. Did you have anything?
There was a couple. There was one where the scene actually happens, and then she's retelling it to Roy, and she says, "Yeah, the doctor told me shoo, and I have to go away." I was like, can you imagine that in the 20s where you just sort of say to children, shoo, go away? That was quite good. And then when the nurse is talking to her and putting to bed, and she's like, "Oh yeah, little girls need to get their sleep," and she's like, "I'm not little, I'm 5." And I was like,
classic.
That's good. That's exactly what you expect a child to say, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
all right.
So
these reviews.
The reviews are good.
Some bangers,
bizarrely,
I imagine.
At least 4 of the reviews were titled 3 stars, and you're like, yeah, we know. That's like, you don't have to. The title doesn't have to be.
Andy, they watched this film and it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear, so you need to make sure in the review people understand what's going on.
The one which I thought that you'd really appreciate, can't comment as bought for a friend, was told it was very good though. 3 stars. Obviously, he doesn't believe his friend enough to think, his friend told him it was very good. If I told you that a film was very good and I
would be thinking 3 stars.
You think 3 stars. No, nothing higher than that.
From you, I would definitely be thinking 3 stars. And if it was above that, I'd be happy.
And then yeah, two that I think kind of nail it on the head. Beautiful shots at times, but somehow missing something to tie it all together. I think it's perfect description. This
Good
film was
summation.
like watching a dream. It made a refreshing change to see a film dwelling so much on the location and really capturing the beauty, so much so that it felt like another character. And I was like, yeah, that's
Okay.
that pretty much nails it.
Yeah.
I did also. There was. I listened to a couple of podcasts on this, and one of them that some people were discussing it, and they said, we like it because it's beautiful and the cinematography is great, but normal people don't care about that. And I was just like, this is this has the danger of like just being like one of those pretentious films that like you just don't get it. Yeah, if you don't like it, you just don't get it. Like you're just not as clever or as into art as us, which is a shame.
Yeah, I don't like that. And while I would say some of the cinematography was very good, obviously in terms of the the visuals and the contrasting colors, the camera work at times is absolutely awful. Like there's a point when he pans out of the hospital and you can tell it's just obviously he must be like an old school style to film it. The camera just keeps scrolling across and he goes through a different building. He starts going filming trees. And I'm like, what is going on here? None of this is relevant to the film at all. Yeah. It's just like someone's forgot to turn the camera off and they're just driving down the road.
I mean, that's, because it's because it's not set, right? And so but yeah, again, like, for if you have your passion project, I completely respect it, but make sure that your editor isn't involved at all in the passion project so that he or she keeps you honest.
Yeah, or just just make it and then watch it at home, and then don't worry about the rest of us. It's fine.
Well, I mean, it's so that's an interesting one. So at the end of the director's commentary, the director says, "All the money's gone. I'm happier than a pig in poo. I made the film I set out to make, and I was about to settle down, and then basically like his girlfriend runs out on him, which like there's a lot of parallels between his life and this as well. And then he said that basically his brother said, that film that you've always said about making, are we just gonna be two old guys talking about a movie we never made? And that was when he decided to do it. So
so then when it came out of the box office, he was like, we should have done that. We should have never made it. We should have just kept it in our minds.
Well, but artists, they don't do it for the money, and so I do that. I mean, what did you think, like, better or worse if it came out today?
I don't know. I thought it could potentially be better, but it would have to be out on streaming. It wouldn't. I don't think it'd do better at the cinema.
Oh, I think I disagree. I think it would but again, you'd have to change the story. Well, I think you just have to let people know what it is a lot more, which I think you would be able to do now. They would.
Yeah, there's so much stuff you could do to make this better. I mean, we could go to this in another hour if you want to do that. We could do our own director's cut.
Kevin Andy do a reading of the film.
And then we'll send it to him, and we'll say, David Fincher's presented this for you. Yeah.
No, I think in like the marketing campaign and stuff like that, like, see the world through the eyes of a 5-year-old would just be the first thing that you would say on the trailer, and it would you would instantly get more than 3.9 million at the box office. I think there is I think there is a much bigger audience actually now for art films at the cinema, because I think there just is. So
it's more pretentious people, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because obviously the world divides now between people who would go and watch Spider-Man and people who wouldn't. So,
so it should be people that will tell you they've gone to watch Spider-Man, and people that will go and see it but pretend that they haven't.
Yeah. So you'd stoke up the culture wars, and just to get more receipts.
Poor Tom Holland, he's drawn into this war.
And then I reckon Tom would like this. He's a cinema guy.
This film, I'd love to let's get Tom on the pod. We'll break it down.
I'll give him a call.
If you could just send him over a little message.
So similar movies on Letterboxd. So we were going to try something new, I think, this time out, where is there a film that you think this film is like? And I'm gonna do the same. And if the algorithm has put it in the top 5 of films that I think it's like, then the algorithm wins. If it doesn't, then we win. Any film?
Yeah, exactly.
No film.
I know. I was thinking we've picked the wrong one to start doing this on. And I can't think of any film this is like, other than maybe, more like a. The problem is, I think there's films that are like the main story, the hospital story. Yeah, and you could get, and I was thinking something like Catch-22 could be like a good one from that. But the bandit story, I'm just like, oh, yeah, like you said, what, never-ending story, or like Princess Bride, but it's still not the same, right?
Yeah, they don't. Funnily enough, they don't even go with those. I thought Cloud Atlas. Have you ever seen Cloud Atlas?
It's got Tom Hanks in, isn't
it? It does.
Yeah. So you know the answer to that then.
but that has a similar criticism of style over content, but also is like multiple stories and embedded storytelling and stuff. Letterboxd,
so
the algorithm,
I guess.
Yeah, kind of.
A story in a story in a story.
Yeah, a story within a story. Letterboxd, the first one is Lord of the Rings, which is just like,
no.
What? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So that's definitely a loss.
No, that's definitely a loss. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So it's on the 100. You've watched it again. You then watched it again with the director's cut. So does it stay on the list? Does it stay in the same position?
So it definitely stays on the list, because I don't think there's anything else on the list that is like this. And I would heartily recommend this film to pretty much everyone to see. It is stunning. I think it is an experience. I think it is something like, again, like if you would say, okay, watch something with really great cinematography, and someone said, oh, you should try this dinosaur movie that I know, or this, I think this is way more entertaining than that, and has the beauty.
I think if you caveat that with, you need to just put a post-it note on the front of the DVD to say, the story is from the child's view.
I've got this movie that you should watch that's from a child's point of view.
It's a child's perspective on life, just to make sure you definitely understand what we're saying here.
We can maybe start recouping some of this money for him on DVD sales.
Well, yeah, because most of the world haven't seen it, so it's fine.
Come down to the shop.
It could be Andy and Kev presents The Fall.
Come down to the shop. We'll give you the video. It'll be fine. Does it stay? Yeah. Does it stay at the same place? I'm really torn on this. I almost sort of like, at some point, I'm like, is this the top 10 movie? To be honest with you.
What is wrong with you?
Because it's so stunning, and it's so.
You've watched too much of the commentary. He's got in your head.
But I honestly don't know. I was like, I'm going to actually decide this on the pod. You've kind of influenced me a bit further down.
Okay. So away from 10. That's good.
Yeah. But I think it's got to be a top 50 movie. I think, interestingly, when I was thinking about it, this was like one of the first films that I put on the list when I was doing like my top 100 list, which obviously I've messed around with loads the order, but I should have actually kept track of like which ones did I just immediately go, well, that's on the list. So if anyone is out there obviously playing along, making your own list, just keep track of which order you put them on, because that will tell you a lot. Yeah, that will tell you a lot. I mean, obviously I just went through my DVD collection as well. But it feels like it's got to be a top 50. Yeah, it's got to be in the top 50. There's nothing. There's literally, I don't think there's any other film. I appreciate the vision and the fact that there's no other film like this out there.
I just don't know how to end this pod on that note. I mean, we start with the bombshell and we finish with a bombshell.
I think. I thought your bombshell was going to be that you watched the different film called Fall. So you've done much better there.
Yeah, seeing the DVD case definitely helps, because that makes sure you get the right film. There's quite a few episodes, quite a few versions of The Fall.
Okay, I'm just looking at the list. I think I'm going to put it in at.
Well, maybe this
40,
might be the first.
40. What were you going to say? Were you going to have
I was going to say this
things?
might be. Well, I was going to say this might be the first pod where you're not sure. You have to come back next week to find out what number it went to.
Maybe when we get to a number, I'll be like, yeah, that was the number, but we'll never remember that. I'm going to put it in at 46.
Okay. So for the rest of all of these podcasts that we've got to come, my job in life is going to get this moved down that list continuously. Get that out of the top 50.
Where is this, like at the bottom of your list of my movies? Surely not.
I mean, obviously not, Andy.
It's quite high, surely.
Stinkers. Yeah. No, I mean, I think Once still takes the biscuit as the worst waste of my time, followed by Looking for Eric. No, this wouldn't be near the bottom. I think, as you said, if you go and do research and understand what the film was supposed to be about and what the director was trying to do, what he did do in terms of, like you're saying, getting the child to actually do a lot of the narration there herself, and really getting into that in-depth piece of the child's mind. If you knew all of that before the film, I think this is a different film. I think you'd really appreciate a lot more. I think, as you said, if actually the hospital scenes were longer, because the scenes between them are really good, and I actually really like the interaction between them both. They're only few and far between, right? And then you go into the bandit story. Most of it is the story, and then we find out probably 2/3 into the movie that actually is completely made up. So
that's a story.
Yeah,
aren't all stories made up?
Well, yeah, true. But then, isn't it?
But I like that.
The storytelling.
Yeah.
Is it should have a start, middle, and ending. I think that's what you get told when you're a 5-year-old. Every story must have a start, middle, and an ending.
I'm not sure she goes to school that much. She's out picking oranges, but but I kind of like. To be honest, I've enjoyed going down the rabbit hole, and I mean, there's so many people out there who love this movie, who want you to go and see.
Let's not say there's so many people.
And stuff. I think there's a lot of people where this is like top five movies.
Well, I might start doing a rating of Andy's, and I'll be like, on a rating 1 to 5, how much is this an Andy movie?
You can get in.
I'll make up I'll do a little image of your face, and then I'll show you how many Andys there are.
What type of Andy movie is this? I think it's a good thing. We could definitely do that. It's presumably just get more and more as we get higher and higher.
It's a quiet day in the shop, so who knows? Maybe we'll start that today.
We'll get the scissors out. We'll start cutting them out. Yeah. Great. Awesome. Well, for next week, so many quotes that we can have, but we'll go with my favorite, which is that gun looks more fitting for a woman. You know a lot about guns, Mr. Bond? No, I know a little about women. It's a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic. It's going to be interesting.
Thanks to Tom Evans for the theme song. It's been a long one this week, but we'll see you next week.